What's up guys? Thank you for checking this video. Today we're going to talk about how to shoot cinematic scenes using slow motion. Roll the intro. Slow motion is a very popular technique that can bring a lot of coolness to your video, but in order to do it right, you need to follow a couple rules. This video is part 1 of 2, and if you want to get notified on the second video, subscribe to the channel. Now, let's get on to the topic. The first concepts you need to understand when it comes to slow motion are the concepts of frame rate, shutter speed, and the 180-degree rule. When it comes to frame rates, when we are recording in 24 frames per second, we are saying that in 1 second the camera is recording 24 frames. The same goes for 30 frames per second, 60 frames per second, 120 frames per second, and so on.
What else you need to know?
The shutter speed is the time that the shutter, like I was saying, the shutter speed is the time that the shutter is open. For example, a shutter speed of 150 means that the shutter is open for 1/50th of a second. The longer it's open, more light and motion blur it will bring to the image. In order to get a smooth image, you need to follow the 180-degree rule, which states that whatever frame rate you're recording, you need to double that in the shutter. For example, if you're recording at 30 frames per second, the shutter speed should be 1/60th of a second. One thing you're going to notice is that as you bump the shutter speed, the image will get darker. In order to compensate for that, you can either bump the ISO, be careful with that because you might bring noise to the image, or bring artificial light, fluorescent light, LED lights, whatever you want. Also be careful because the lights might flicker. If you're filming outside and there's a surplus of light, use an ND filter to reduce the amount of light coming in. The third thing to have in mind when shooting slow motion is to make sure that you're recording interesting subjects. For example, people running in the streets, extreme sports, whatever. The point is, be creative. Now, as important as the subject you're shooting is when to use slow motion. You should use slow motion in one of these two situations. The first is when the notion of time is lost. For example, someone died, someone is in shock or in fear. The second is when you want to make a scene even more epic. For example, someone is doing a crazy trick or something like that. So the next step is to edit your video like a boss. What we have here in the timeline is a clip shot at 120 frames per second of a bunny hop competition, and what we're going to do to make it cooler is to speed ramp it. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to right click on the effects tab, time remapping and speed. Then we are going to pick the points that we're going to use for our ramp. So first point, when the trick starts, so press P at that point. And the second point is when the trick ends. So press B at that point. Now what we're going to do is we're going to increase the speed by 600% because, like I said, this was shot at 120 frames per second and our timeline is at 24 frames per second. Now if you look at the video, it looks cool, but we can make it a ton better. And the way we're going to do it is by adjusting our transitions. So we're going to drag these points out. And we're going to adjust the speed curve. Now if you look at the video again, it is perfecto.
Yes! Hell yeah! Hey, come on, baby! Come on!
The last but not the least important step of this process is to use music and sound effects to bump the overall quality of your slow motion video. And this is precisely the topic of the second part of this video.
See you later.
If you want to watch the second part of this video, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Also, if you want to take your video from good to great, head on over to magicsoundlab.com/amplify and download our free guide about sound design for film. From us, that's it.